Hello, I'm Chrissy Seaton and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is sort of connected to the previous video I have done, but I am calling this section part 1 of 2 that I will finish next week. But we are still dealing with this marvellous book called Duties of the Heart, and this is volume 1, and there will be links in the description box below where you can follow up on this further if you desire. Now, what I want to just ask ourselves is a few questions, and I like to read things. Often something I read in a book about a different topic will have an enormous effect on how I understand another section in another book I've read. And I love the way things marry up at times, and you think, it's that aha moment. But anyway, today we're going to go on in the book, The Duties of the Heart, and the framework today, which I'm calling part 1, is going to be found on page 177 and 179. So if you want to look that up or reference it, you can. So let's have a little look at this. And I guess I'm asking the question, and I'm asking the question of myself as well as you viewers. How do we approach today's world? In our approach to what's going on in the world today, what is our approach, or what is our summation of how we should deal with things? Now, I'm not necessarily saying that we expect ourselves as individuals to set the world right. But if all of us think like that, nothing will ever be done. So I guess this is just to stimulate your thoughts and your brain cells to think about things. And maybe you'll review things slightly differently now, or ask different questions. And as we proceed into part 2, there will be some added information there that will either confirm what you think now or give you other ideas. So let's start by saying, when we look at, let's just say when you turn your local news on, sometimes you just shake your head and you think, I can't believe this is happening. And then you look at national events and then world events, and sometimes you think, why did I turn the news on? Now, obviously, the people who make news are making money out of it. Let's not forget, they're not doing this for nothing. And so it's often sensationalised one way or the other beyond reality. And then at other times, the reality is dampened down. It's kind of, I'll pat it down a little bit. We're not going to make it, we're not going to tell everything about it. And I think all of us would agree, we have seen that happening in the last weeks in relation to what's going on in Israel. You've got to be selective what news source you go to get a summary, an accurate summary of what is actually going on. So that in turn also, what information we absorb and believe to be accurate, we hope would be appropriately informing us of what our reaction to that should be. But not able to always trust all news outlets, that makes us difficult. So what we have to do is start thinking of ourselves as a critical and analytically critical when it comes to deciding whether this is probable or possible. And so that will guide our approach to it. And this works in real life circumstances, just in our own environment, in our own place. So what we want to know is is my approach appropriate? Am I analysing things properly? And am I nervous or not sure about things? And that's a fairly normal reaction to have to lots of things in today's society. But in the environment that we're living in worldwide, more and more people say, well, I never thought this would happen. I don't know what to make of this. The world's gone mad. And I just want to sort of bring to your attention some, in this part one, and also there'll be a part two, that there is a way for us to work this out. And we can't always rely on another individual to tell us how to think, nor should we. We should be analysing things in terms of, well, just pure plain common sense. And then, okay, I wonder what Hashem is wanting me to do about this. How does Hashem want me to approach this, or pray about this, or talk about this? So let's go on now and have a look and see what we can dig up here. And again, I have referred back, as I said, to the book Duties of the Heart, Volume 1. And I'm going to read pretty much verbatim. It's only a short extract, but I believe after what I've already said as part of the introduction, after I've read this to you, you will go away and, while I don't want to influence you about what to think, I do want to influence you about how you think. And I believe this will help you. So let's get started. And I'm reading now from halfway down page 177, and the subheading is, what should be one's approach to this world? A wise and insightful individual will distill from this world the knowledge of its spirituality and subtle things, and using this knowledge like a ladder, he will attain proofs of the Creator of all. So step by step, ladder. May he be exalted and devoted himself to God's service. The depth of his devotion will be in proportion to the depth of his feelings for God's greatness and glory. His perception of the signs of God's goodness and mercy towards all his creatures, and his recognition that God endowed him with an abundance of favours and raised him on high before he had done anything or assumed any fine trait of character to deserve such a reward for him. Now let me just stop there for a moment. The very air we breathe is free and things. So let's take it to its simplest form. We think nothing about breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And the very atmosphere that is conducive to our existence and the existence of all living things on this planet is solely related to God, Hashem. Something as simple as we would say as breathing is only due to God's goodness. Next, he will select for himself from the physical elements of the world the things that support his body and promote his material well-being, but only enough to meet his needs and provide for his livelihoods. How often have we heard this in people or seen this attitude in people? Oh, that'll do. That's another Solomon. Or, that'll do. I don't need to put any more effort into that. Yeah, it'll come my way. Long as we people, the human psyche can be both brilliant and very stupid at your own expense. So you need to think clearly and separately about things. Question your thoughts. So, it says he will give up the luxuries and precious things of this world which turn the heart away from God and try to work from his final home and destination after death. The world and its possessions he regards as a means of providing for his appointment day and the latter end, and so he takes from it only what may accompany him on his journey. So in other words, whatever you surround yourself with or perceive you have surrounding you in terms of comfort, luxury, what you want, most of that you can't take with you, but how you treat people, how you treat the world, how you communicate and respond to Hashem has tremendous bearing on what you take with you in terms of the emotional, but in terms of the rewards in the next world. An individual who is ignorant on the ways of this world and unaware of the signs of wisdom found in it regards it as his permanent home and a place of residence. He invests in it all his efforts and puts his whole heart and all his energies into it. Well, some people do, thinking that he furthers his own interests. He does not take into account that the fruit of all his labour and all the property he has amassed will go to others. Now, it can be during his own lifetime and certainly continues after his death. So he totally neglects his interest in the next world. And I'm sure all of you can think of people or situations or families where you've seen this happen. And you think, well, what do we take with us when we put in that casket? There's not much room for any of our flashy stuff or jewels or pearls or whatever. Maybe you might squeeze a string of pearls around your neck in the coffin. I don't know. But we leave this world pretty much the same as how we came into it, with all the shackles and influences there are. When you're a tiny infant, you rely on your parents and to sustain you and look after you, and then you have your adult life, and then when you die, well, what can you take with you? You can't take your favourite horse and your favourite saddle. It's not going to fit in the coffin. So we need to be realistic about what we consider to be riches that are of the type of riches we're going to have as a reward in the next world. And so am I doing anything today to work towards that? Am I building up my account and having it in the plus so that, when that time comes, I've got to meet the maker, I'll be able to say, well, I've done everything I think I could have possibly done with all reasonability. Because, it catches up with us one way or the other. We will face that day. And how we live in this world is not so much about how much money we spend or how many items and things we accumulate or how fancy our house is or car is. It's really how our response is to the world and to people, to the animals around us, to the people we work with. Are you kind and responsible? Do you tell the truth? Do you help someone who's in difficulties? Do you lend your ear and listen to someone else's troubles and stop bothering them with yours that are seemingly minor compared to theirs? So these are things we all need to consider. Now, in our little pocket of the world, if we can do that, that's great. But just think if everybody's pocket of the world behaved in a different way. Do you think our approach to the world that exists as it is today might be a different story? Or are the results that would be served up from the world we live in today, could they be different? So I want you to think about that between now and part 2 of this topic. And in the meantime, please take care and God bless.